Hello, my name is Raul Blanco, Cuban pianist and composer, and this is your channel to learn everything about Latin jazz, Latin music, Cuban music, and the piano. And today we're gonna learn about timba. What is timba? What does timba mean on the piano? What are piano montunos or tumbaos that we do in timba? So stay tuned. Intro. Okay, pretty quick. We all know the traditional montunos in salsa, or maybe if you play Latin jazz, like maybe if you, harmonizing. I don't know if it's too much, but like that rhythm. Okay, we all know that rhythm, and we maybe if you have done it before, you understand that you take the chord and then you just arpeggiate it like that. You take the octave here, you copy that octave. If you're doing D minor, for example, and you do second inversion of D minor, you play your triad on the left hand, and then the right hand, instead of matching the same triad like this, you're gonna add the octave on the first note. So this note it coincides, right? Every time you play this with the pinky on the left, you play the octave with the right, and then when you play the filler notes or the inner notes on the left, you do the same with the right. Sometimes you do it like that, separate notes, arpeggiating. Sometimes you do it in chords, in block, okay? So you end up separating the octave and the inner notes, arpeggiated or block notes, okay? And then you play your montuno, and of course there are many rhythms that I've covered before in other videos, and I will keep covering different variations of the traditional montunos and salsa and those things that we can do. But timba, okay, what happened is in Cuba we kept evolving the concept of montuno, okay? If you analyze the origin of montuno, it's from the guitar tres, okay? The tres guitar is a 6-string guitar, but you have 3 pairs, okay? So it's called tres, 3.
But guess who came to the rescue with his tres, Andres, yes, and he blessed me with his melody.
And then it's like arpeggiated chords, right?
Pero que no me confundan. Yo me llamo Son, no me le cambies el nombre. Que no me confundan. Homenaje a Adalberto Álvarez y su son, Cito Llorente y muchos más. Que no me confundan. Vaya, ven y moré. Si se trata del son, mi hermano, ponle el puño cubano.
So the tuning of the tres goes like this. You have basically like the same note, okay, on every pair, but one of those pairs is double to the octave. So instead of having G, G, C, C, E, E, you actually have G, G on the string, and so it sounds like an octave, and then the other C, C, the other pair sounds like unison, and the other pair sounds unison. So if you arpeggiate G, C, E, G, C, E, you actually end up doing this, which means you actually end up combining, playing melodies that sound unison, right? And then some other parts of the notes are in octave, okay? Then when you start creating rhythms with that tuning, what you end up with is a combination of unison, octave, and then after a while, what you get is this like sparks of harmony in boom, and then expands and contracts, right? Expansion and contraction, all right? So when pianists started adapting the montuno from the tres to the piano, they came up with the doubling of the hands. So what they did was just double everything like the tres, but then to imitate the double note, they tripled it, all right? So instead of you go to have that effect of expansion and then contraction, right? So and then you start arpeggiating with a rhythm, and then you get the Montuno, okay? But then if you take that concept of expansion and contraction, and also you take the fact that a Montuno is just counterpoint to whatever is happening to in the song, to the voice, counterpoint to the rhythm, counterpoint to the harmony, then you come up with infinite amount of Montunos. And if you are doing rhythms that go well with the style, okay, then it sounds, it sounds good. So I actually compare timba to what happens in jazz, in New Orleans jazz, that you have counterpoint everywhere when every instrument is improvising at the same time, but everybody's hitting like chord tones every once in a while. Since every instrument is hitting chord tones pretty much consistently, you get the harmony. Like if you isolate every instrument, you still hear the harmony, right? Because a lot of the chord tones are falling on the beats. So, and you put different soloists at the same time, it doesn't sound bad because the harmony is there, and it's just counterpoint to each other. The timba montuno expands the concept of counterpoint. So instead of staying with the chord while the singer is singing or an instrument is playing a melody, what you do is just do melodies. Right? Right? And then it's just like take the octave and move it more in a melodic way. Sometimes just like, and then mixing up the chords, sometimes arpeggiating more. Okay, but in general, timba montunos or tumbaos, the way we call it now. I know a lot of people understand tumbao as the bass line and then montunos the piano pattern, but in Cuba, montuno is also a tumbao. It's just a groove, okay? And then we just call tumbao everything, especially the piano. So in timba montunos, you have a lot of configurations. You can follow the traditional octave and chord, doubling both hands. But sometimes it's everything is in harmony. Okay, and then you harmonize everything you're doing. Okay, and sometimes it's like weird mix of like of like maybe like more jazzy, like so it can get very complicated. But one of the things that we also discovered or implemented was that like the uses of the left hand with more filler notes, because when you are doing your chords, like you're arpeggiating the whole time, right? But when you start doing more melody, like when you do that, you have to compensate a little bit the fact that you are not doing so much arpeggios. So when you do that, the left hand starts doing something that I call pivoting, or it's like another counterpoint, like so it's adding extra notes on the empty beats. Right? So it's a lot of activity here in the thumb, and sometimes there are more than one note doing that counterpoint. So now I'm going to play a timba montuno from my book, Timba Exercises for the Left Hand Independence, and I'm gonna expand it. Okay, I'm gonna play the ways in the book, and I'm gonna start then doing improvisations, or just the way I would do like in a gig, right? I'm starting with the original montuno, the harmony, which is D minor, A minor, D minor, A minor. That's it. Then I'm gonna do the original montuno, and then I'm gonna start doing other montunos, right? Expanding, you're gonna see how I'm gonna move up and down with the octave. Especially a lot of times I move in between chord tones with passing notes. Like instead of going, I go, or, right? Because when you use passing notes, you can hear more clearly the chord. You can still hear the chord. All you do is just like, okay, all right. But let's hear the montuno. Of course, when you're listening to the band, that becomes even better, more informed according to what's happening on the melodies, and some montunos, tumbaos that don't work sometimes will work when you're listening to certain things in the band, like the singer is improvising, you're doing counterpoint to the singer. If the horns are playing a mambo, or you're doing counterpoints to the horns. If the choir, if the chorus is singing, you're just doing counterpoint to everything, okay? And at the same time, you're listening to the bass, and the bass is also creating stuff, okay? Changing the pattern, changing the rhythm, and then you're answering to the bass also. The percussion is also changing and doing ornaments and rhythms and things and mechanics, and you're just following, accompanying. It's just accompanying with your counterpoint and the montuno according to the energy of the band and the structure of the tune. There are a lot of famous timba tunes that we will cover. So let me know if there's something specific that you want me to talk about, any tune that you want me to bring to the channel, and I'll play it and I'll explain it. So for now, if you want to check the timba book, what it does have is tiny exercises, tiny montunos. It's like taking a tumbao, a montuno, and chop it in pieces, and then I created exercises to automate the hands, because when you're playing all that stuff, the left hand goes automatically following the right hand. A lot of stuff happens like on the go, so that's the purpose of the book, was to automate the playing. So you can check it out on my website, rablancomusic.com, and you can also check out my social media, Rablanco Music, in TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and I have scores and tracks for practicing in my Patreon, Rablanco Music. So that's it for today. If you liked it, share it, like the video, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, go practice!